renting is still much cheaper than owning a home. Hello and welcome. My name is Gino Barbaro, one of the co-founders of Jake and Gino. And in this how-to video, I really want to discuss Biden's proposal of rent control. Now, how is it going to affect multifamily, right? I would first and foremost love to get your thoughts and what you believe is going to happen if this law passes. What are your thoughts on rent control? Can you please leave them down below in the comment section? If you want to email me, gino@jakeandgino.com, your thought, because this is important. The only way that we solve hard problems, or for that matter, any problem, is by having dialogue. And once we have open and honest dialogue, and not hatred, but really open and honest dialogue, and we can discuss things, ultimately, to me, it's mid-2024 right now. They passed the Corporate Transparency Act back in 2021. 33 million LLCs were affected. It was passed to deter, what was it, fraud or money that was coming into the system. And they're really basically trying to deter any kind of fraudulent activities within the banking system, right? Now, it only goes up to, I think, LLCs that are $5 million or less. So it doesn't even affect the major players in the industry. But what's more egregious than that is that we're in the middle of the year right now. It's 3 years ago they passed the law. They still don't have the law fleshed out. They still don't have all the rules set in place. You go on the website, you get your FinCEN number. It takes you days sometimes because the website doesn't work. They don't have the rules written down. And it's the same thing with this rent control that they're quote unquote Biden's trying to pass or he's put forth. Let's go through the stipulations in it because that's really important. First of all, it's for 50 units or more, right? So they're not dealing with mom and pops. So is that per entity? We have over 30 entities. So it's confusing to say the least. That's the problem that I have with these policies, with the government policies. They're just confusing. That's the first part. The second part, it's no cap to new construction. So now you're saying this sector here is going to get penalized, but this sector, we're going to let it go. And I tend to agree with that because you don't want to penalize new construction because that's the problem in the country right now. It's lack of affordable housing. It's lack of housing. I think somewhere I read that there's 3.8 million units that we are lacking right now. So we want new construction. And I like the fact that the government can come in and possibly incentivize. Let's do public-private where they're incentivizing builders to build these more lower affordable housing units. I love that. So let's leave that alone. That part of the bill I can sort of live with. And the third part, which is important, if you do not abide by the laws, you're going to get penalized. But penalized how? As far as tax incentives go, are you going to lose your cost segregation benefits, tax benefits, or are you going to lose 1031, the ability to 1031 money? I mean, really confusing as well. That's why, for me, I like to find a solution that does not involve the government. That's the problem that I have with it, right? Once again, what are your thoughts? I'd love to hear what you're thinking. Like I said, I'm in the business, so I see it through a certain lens. Now, if you're telling me, Gino, you can only raise rates by 5% this year, well, what happens if my insurance goes up 6% and my labor goes up 10%? What happens then? Have they thought about that? Certain markets, they may not, but there's certain markets in Florida where insurance has been going up 10, 15, 20% over the last 3 years. See, the problem that people see, and what I hate really about the media, is they're only focused on, let's say, multifamily or apartments right now, or homes right now. There's an inflation problem going on. So rents aren't the only thing that's gone up since 2019, since COVID hit, right? Inflation is everywhere. So if you're pulling out just one part of the sector, how much was a dozen eggs back in 2019? That's probably gone up 50%. It's probably gone up more than what rent has. You're looking at it from a totality. Gallon of gas, what has that gone up? Electric. My electric bill when I moved into my home back in 2018 in Florida was $250, $260 a month. That bill is at over $500 now. So we want to start capping everything here? Is that the solution? We need more supply. That's the problem what's going on with multifamily and with housing right now. There's a lot of demand, and they've done studies on this. You can go do all the studies. Go to Jay Parsons on LinkedIn. I've done a podcast with Jay Parsons as well. He is beating the drum, and he's been beating the drum, and he's actually gone into other cities. I think there's cities in St. Paul, Minnesota specifically, targeted, where, hey, you bring on more supply, you don't need rent control because there's more supply, the demand will be met, and prices will adjust accordingly. And you're seeing this in the multifamily space right now, where a lot of units are coming on in certain markets. You have Nashville, you have Charlotte, you have Atlanta, you have Phoenix. They're having an oversupply now. So what's going on? It's actually good for renters because these landlords have to give concessions. They have to drop their rates. So we need more supply, not more restriction on pricing, right? So let me talk a little bit about the cons of rent control because this is important. Number one, they reduce incentives to build more product. If I know I'm building a product and it gets built, and then all of a sudden somebody comes in and says, you can't raise your prices more than 5%, you're going to say to yourself, there's no incentive for me to make a profit. Why would I take all that risk, all that hard work? Oh, by the way, it's a hard business. Everyone thinks that landlords are greedy and they're out there making money. You're dealing with somebody's home. You're dealing with somebody's emotions, with their effects. It's a challenging business. It can be very difficult to be a landlord, whether you're a mom and pop or you're a huge organization. So they're out there thinking that all you're doing is raising rents every year, employing property managers, employing maintenance techs, letting that system run can be very challenging. The second one, if I'm only able to raise rents by 5% at a maximum, and let's say something happens and I have to fix something, well, I'm going to defer the maintenance. You know that yearly power washing that I used to do? You know, I would go around and paint the breezeways every couple of years. I would stripe and seal the parking lots. Well, if I'm not generating enough income where I can raise rents to handle that because my insurance went up, my property taxes went up, my labor went up, you're going to start deferring maintenance on the properties. And that's a reality. And you've seen that in New York City, where a lot of these landlords have rent control. And then all of a sudden, what's going on? You can't raise rents. People in New York City having 1 beds and 2 beds are paying $800 or $1,000 a month. That landlord cannot make enough money to deal with these deferred maintenances. So what ends up happening is the neighborhood starts taking a nosedive because this building is not able to fix itself up. This one isn't. And then all of a sudden you have a ton of deferred maintenance. And the third one, to me, at times it can subsidize higher income earners because you're just passing along from family member to family member. That's not what it's there to do. It's there to subsidize and help lower income family members. Let's target and focus on that demographic, the ones who truly need it. I want to throw out a couple numbers to you as well, because this is important. Renting is still much cheaper than owning a home. Everyone's talking about how rents have gone up dramatically. Well, I've got a stat here for you. Renting right now is $1,973. That's $1,973 per month. National average. Owning is $2,700 a month with mortgage. So you're seeing the big disparity. That's on average $700 a month cheaper to rent than it is to own a home. And there's a lot of factors that go into play. Now, you may be saying, hey, in my market, that's not the case. This is the national average. And in our market of where we are in Knoxville, absolutely. It's a lot cheaper to rent a home than it is to buy a home. So all of a sudden, you're starting to put caps on certain markets. Well, that's going to be to me an issue. You want to be able to allow the marketplace to set itself. I still want the government to be able to work with private entities to be able to say, let's create more affordable housing, more affordable units in the market because there's that segment. But to me, the fact that government can come in and put a cap on pricing is just going to distort the market. Take a look at any industry that you're at. If they start putting market caps, if they're starting to tell certain distributors, hey, eggs can only go up 5%, that's it. We can't let them go up anymore. If I'm a farmer and I can only sell them for a certain price, guess what? I'm just going to stop selling my eggs. I'm going to get rid of my chickens. I'm going to go on to something different. That's, to me, not how you take care of the rent problem. Go across all of the major metropolitan cities in the United States and look at the rent control in those areas. Has it helped with affordability? Those areas, whether it's Portland, Oregon, whether it's New York City, whether it's Chicago, whether it's any other markets that have severe rent control, there's a supply problem. Once again, I'm beating that drum. Let's open up the ability to build more units. Let's open that up. The reason why, for me, it's important to be able to offer clean, safe, affordable housing is as we move forward in our economy, owning a home in many instances is like going to college for everyone. Not everyone wants to or has to own a home. Not everyone wants to or has to go to college. We need to have the ability for people to be able to rent homes. We need more supply in the market. So let's focus on that. Once again, down below, please leave me any comments, because I could love to banter back and forth with you, because I want to have an open discussion about this. I really want to solve this problem, because for me, there's two things that I really want to focus on going forward for the rest of my life. I want to focus on financial intelligence. People with financial intelligence can change the world for the better. And I want to solve this affordable housing problem, because I think everyone needs a safe, affordable, clean place to live. And if we can solve that problem and have people in homes and have them more financially intelligent, we're going to have an amazing country. Thanks everyone for listening. I will see you on next week's How To. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to like and subscribe so you'll never miss another episode.